Priya. Davy.
Good morning to you all. So nice to be here with the family. And Adipurush, every time I hear you, it's like I've heard you the first time chanting, the glories of the spiritual master and pastimes of Radha Madhava. So sweet. Thank you so much, Buddha.
Grounding us in transcendence this morning. Thank you.
Beholder. Off here because there's another class going on in the Bhakti Center, so I won't be with you here. Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll see you later.
Haribol. So Damodar Priya, do we start?
Yep, we've been live this whole time. You're good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Do we pull up, are you someone there pulling up the verse, or we do that, or how does that work? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm starting with reading the verses, and we're reading Canto 10, Chapter 33. What's that mean?
That's not us.
Okay. Canto 10, Chapter 33, text number 20. Text 20. Tashamriti Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 33, text 20. Tashamriti Vaharena Shrantayam Vadanani Saha Pramrijat Karuna Premna Santame Nanka Vanina. Now just do the word for word. Tasha.
We actually have 20 through 25. So
Yes.
I don't know if you want to just do like the English translation and do the word for the last one.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So English translation. Seeing that the gopis were fatigued from conjugal enjoyment, my dear Krishna, merciful Krishna, lovingly wiped their faces with his comforting hand. Text 21. The gopis honored their hero with smiling glances, sweetened by the beauty of their cheeks and the effulgence of their curly locks and glittering golden earrings. Overjoyed from the touch of his fingernails, they chanted the glories of his all-auspicious transcendental pastimes. Text 22. Lord Krishna's garland had been crushed during his conjugal dalliance with the gopis and colored vermilion by the kumkum powder on their breasts. To dispel the fatigue of the gopis, Krishna entered the water of the Yamuna, followed swiftly by bees who were singing like the best of the Gandharvas. He appeared like a lordly elephant, entering the water to relax in the company of his consorts. Indeed, the Lord had transgressed all worldly and Vedic morality, just as a powerful elephant might break the dikes in a paddy field. Text 23. My dear king, in the water, Krishna found himself being splashed on all sides by the laughing gopis, who looked at him with love, as the demigods worshipped him by showering flowers from their airplanes. The self-satisfied Lord took pleasure in playing like the king of the elephants. Although the gopis were firmly attached to Lord Krishna, this is text 24. Then the Lord strolled through a small forest on the bank of the Yamuna. This forest was filled to its limits with breezes, carrying the fragrances of all the flowers growing on the land and in the water. Followed by his entourage of bees and beautiful women, Lord Krishna appeared like an intoxicated elephant with his she-elephants. Srila Prabhupada's purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, it is implicit here that after playing in the water, Lord Krishna had his body massaged, and that he then dressed himself in his favorite clothing before resuming his pastimes with the gopis. And text 25, and that's the text that has a purport, a larger purport. So I'll read that text. Okay. Evan san kamshu virajita nishan sasatya kama anuradha balaganaha shisheva atman avaridha surata sarvat sarat kavya kata rasaras rayaha rasasrayaha means the report. Okay. Translation. Although the gopis were firmly attached to Lord Krishna, whose desires are always fulfilled, the Lord was not internally affected by any mundane sex desire. Still, to perform his pastime, the Lord took advantage of all those moonlit autumn nights, which inspire poetic descriptions of transcendental affairs. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is difficult to translate into English the word rasa, which indicates the spiritual bliss derived from one's loving relationship with Lord Krishna. That bliss is experienced in the midst of spiritual pastimes with the Lord and his devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that great Vaishnava poets like Vyas, Parashara, Jayadev, Lila Sukha, Bivalamangala Thakur, Govardhan Acharya, and Srila Rupa Goswami have tried in their poetry to describe the conjugal affairs of the Lord. These descriptions are never complete, however, since the Lord's pastimes are unlimited. Thus, the attempt to glorify such pastimes is still going on and will go on forever. Lord Krishna arranged an extraordinary season of beautiful autumn nights to enhance his loving affairs, and those autumn nights have inspired transcendental poets since time immemorial. Om Madhyana Tirandasya Radhana Shalakaya Jakshu Anmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prastak Radhe Satarani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpa Dhruvistra Vipasindhu Devata Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Om Shri Prabhupada Haribo Carla. So once again, we're very grateful to be here with everyone, Ekavira Prabhu and myself. Ekavira's, we usually just go back and forth when we share. So I usually start out, he gives me that privilege to start out, and then he comes in, and then we just kind of work it like that. So we're starting with text 20, and we're just sharing some points from some of these verses as we hear about Krishna's playtime. So Krishna is playing with the gopis, and this play that we've been reading about in this rasa dance is for our benefit. It's for us to develop the desire to play with Krishna, and that is the whole purpose of this play, is so that each of us will have that. We'll develop that strong desire and get grounded in our desire to be with Krishna in these pastimes. Krishna is always enjoying, as we know, and this pastime specifically focuses on that part of the enjoyment where he is with his very amazing close associates, the gopis. And as explained in that last text, which Ekavira will speak about in depth, it's difficult to describe. It's not, it's not easy to talk about the intimate pastimes of the Lord. And this privilege comes only from the mercy of the spiritual master. And as we were listening to Adipurusha Prabhu chant this morning, I was reflecting on how sweet it was to hear about the glories of the spiritual master when he chanted the Charada Madhava prayer, that the spiritual master is assisting these pastimes, is assisting the Lord. He's the spiritual master, he or she is assisting the Lord with these different pastimes. And we know that this is the process of bhakti. The process of bhakti is handed down to us from the Lord himself. And he passes these activities, these knowledge, this understanding about him, all the way to us, which comes through the mercy of the spiritual master. So this first verse is speaking about how merciful Krishna is, how sensitive he is, how thoughtful he is. And I believe in the Sanskrit of this first verse, the Sanskrit words are that Krishna mercifully, he merciful, Karuna, merciful, wiped, that Sanskrit word is parijat. He wiped and he wiped the faces of the gopis. And he did this in a very loving way, premna, very lovingly, which was most comforting. So Krishna's sensitivity is to bring comfort in this pastime to the gopis. However, one of the things that I was reflecting on as I shared about Adipurusha chanting about the spiritual master, this is only possible for us to enter these pastimes, of course, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And I'm sure every one of us understand this in the core of our hearts. We know that it is Srila Prabhupada's mercy that is giving us this opportunity. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada is also assisting, those previous acharyas, and those previous acharyas, they are assisting all the way to this personality that all of us, we so much love, Srimati Tulsi Devi. Srimati Tulsi Devi, she is arranging, she and Purnamasi, they are arranging these amazing pastimes with the Lord. They're the ones that are being assisted. So the spiritual master is assisting these amazing associates of the Lord to make these pastimes possible. And so Vrinda Devi, Srimati Vrinda Devi is, of course, so revered by everyone on the path of bhakti, because we understand that Krishna has passed his mercy down to her so that she can make all the different kinds of arrangements that we're getting the opportunity to hear about. So in this verse, the mercy of Krishna comes down as we know in the line of the cyclic succession. And Bhagavad Gita explains this to us in the 18th chapter, in 68 and 69 of the 18th chapter, that Krishna expresses appreciation for his representatives in this verse. And he explains that for one who attains the supreme secret of Krishna consciousness, one who understands, who is able to get the secret, the pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, that person will come back to me. So we are getting this beautiful, amazing opportunity to engage in devotional service by hearing about this pastime, this amazing, beautiful, wonderful pastime of how merciful, sensitive, caring, comforting Krishna is. And we'll hear as we go on in this pastime how Krishna and the gopis are playing the different activities that they're engaged in. I wanted to share a quote from Srila Prabhupada he explains, and I'm just going to read this quote. He says, so this discussion of Rasa Lila is the summit of Krishna consciousness. This is the highest that we can enter into understanding our relationship with Krishna, is to hear this Rasa Lila. It is not an ordinary thing. They are purely spiritual. There is nothing material. And I believe we all know this. We have all heard this. We may not know it. I may not know it. However, I've heard it at different times by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. But because we are not completely free from material concept of life, we may think that Krishna Lila is something like this material. And he said, so this is an offense. So somehow in my conditioned state, in the conditioned state of the jivas on the planet, if we somehow or other hear these pastimes and we think of these pastimes and that they're material, then Prabhupada says that that's an offense. But that is the goal. He said, but still, this is the goal, to understand Krishna Lila. That's the purpose of bhakti. And he said, Prabhupada says, but you must wait for relishing that Krishna Lila, that Rasa Lila, to become more perfect in Krishna consciousness. So again, Prabhupada is reminding us that, yes, this knowledge, Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. They're continuously going on. And we simply need to be patient. We need to wait to be able to really relish these pastimes. And then he says, he uses this word, the Sanskrit word, anartha pagamam. He says, anartha means one is freed from anarthas. Then he says, Prabhupada, he says, but it's so nice. Even those who are with anarthas, like myself, misgivings, if they're devotee, if they have got full surrender unto Krishna, so they will also derive benefit. This is from a lecture that Prabhupada gave in Los Angeles on November 15, 1968. So I understand this to mean that because I've been given the mercy, we have all been given the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that makes us eligible, because we've all made a decision, we've made a choice to want to serve the pure devotee of the Lord, to want to serve the hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, then that makes us eligible, even with anarthas, even with misgivings, to somehow hear this pastime and get some benefit. However, as we can understand, this pastime is not, it's not something that someone that,
Summit.
yeah, it's the summit. So thanks. So, it's not, there's definitely an eligibility for really understanding and entering into these pastimes. In this, the second text, in the first text, this is the mercy, we're hearing about the mercy of the Lord. And so then in the second text, we're hearing about how the gopis there, how Krishna is reciprocating with them. The second text there is in the Sanskrit text 20 and 21. We learn that that the gopis are honoring their hero. This Prabhupada says they're honoring the translation. They're honoring their hero. So everybody's looking for a hero, right? In the material world, everybody's looking for somebody to worship, and everybody's looking for somebody that, they're wanting to revere. However, we learn from this pastime, who is really to be revered and how to revere that person. So here the gopis, they're honoring him by smiling, and Prabhupada says that he's describing how they're looking, how beautiful they're looking, and how overjoyed they are as Krishna touched their face, and his nails just touch their face. And as they feel that, they start chanting. They start chanting. So when we think of heroes in the material world, you know, we don't know, we don't understand the spiritual aspect of what a hero might be, what a hero worship might be. Because when we think of heroes, we just think of somebody that's, you know, I don't know, strong, beautiful, whatever. Some of those qualities may be there, but those qualities are not, they don't have this understanding of the Lord. They don't understand anything about, you know, Krishna. They don't understand about the self. It's explained in one of these texts that Krishna is self-satisfied, that Krishna himself is so beautiful, you know, that most people in the material world, they have no understanding, no connection with the Supreme Lord, and how the Lord can engage in this kind of personal relationship, personal loving relationship. Most people don't understand that. And then in text 22, we're hearing about Krishna's garland, and we're hearing about this loving relationship that he's having with the gopis, and that the gopis, you know, we're here, the Prabhupada is giving us this description of the kumkum powder on the breast of the gopis. And then here again, in the translation, this mood of Krishna towards the gopis, of being so caring and so thoughtful. And so the gopis are a little bit tired. And so Krishna, he goes into the water of the Yamuna. And so in these pastimes, we get a chance to really understand this mood of how affectionate Krishna is, how caring Krishna is. And we get this opportunity to hear about these associates of the Lord, these great devotees, and how this mood of reciprocation is so prominent in the spiritual world. How this loving mood, this loving exchange between the Lord and between the Lord's devotees. And so as we think about that, we also can think about here for us as we practice bhakti. This month is a very amazing month. There's so many different activities for us to engage in, to remember and to connect deeply with the Lord and the Lord's pastimes and activities, because we get a chance to do some of those activities ourselves. So for example, Julian Yatra is coming up, and there's so much arrangements that has to be made for Julian Yatra, just to engage devotees in that festival of the Lord swinging, Srimati Radharani and Krishna swinging. And so if we just remember that we get an opportunity to participate in this beautiful activity, just like the gopis are engaged in this activity with the Supreme Lord, we get a chance to serve those devotees that are making the preparations for the Julian Yatra. And we get an opportunity to be able to hear about the pastimes of Julian Yatra. And we get a chance to engage in that activity of swinging the Lord. So Krishna makes himself so available in so many ways because of his affection for all of us. And so this reciprocation is important in the spiritual world, and it's also important as we aspire to remember this relationship that we can have with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is why he engages in these activities. And then this text 23, the gopis and Krishna are enjoying together. They're splashing in the water. They're having fun. They're laughing. The demigods are raining flowers from the airplanes. And then then this point comes into the translation that the Lord is self-satisfied. Krishna is satisfied with himself. So it's not that he's engaging in these activities just to enjoy separate from himself. Actually, Srila Prabhupada explains in a purport that Krishna is when he's playing with the gopis, it's like looking at himself in a mirror. It's like he's seeing himself, because gopis are all expansions of the Lord. The Lord is self-satisfied. And in one of the purports in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada explains about this mood of Krishna being self-satisfied. And he gives this example of when Arjuna and Bhima went to challenge Jarasandha, and Krishna gave all the credit to Bhima for the killing of Jarasandha. From this, we can understand that Krishna never cares at all for fame, although no one can be more famous. So Krishna is self-satisfied in that he's not looking for anything. He's not trying to just enjoy with the gopis just to enjoy. He's actually enjoying having this pleasure, this play with the gopis to help us to develop this mood, for us to hear these pastimes and think, oh, I want to do that. I want to be with Krishna. I want to splash in water with Krishna. I want to be laughing with Krishna. I want to be in that environment. And by hearing these pastimes, as the tendency to enjoy material life gets minimized, then we start appreciating these pastimes more and more and more and more. And so this example is important to know that Krishna is self-satisfied, especially for the Mayavadis or the impersonalists, because the tendency is the Mayavadis and the impersonalists, they cannot understand these pastimes. They cannot understand how how the Lord is engaged with playing with gopis. For them, how can God do that? How can the Supreme Lord do that? And so another example of Krishna being self-satisfied is that he's not disturbed, he's not affected, even by the Mayavadis. He makes arrangements for them also to eventually get some understanding about him. And this example was shown by Shishupal. So Shishupal began to call him kind of bad names. Shishupal was, his character was a character that was inimical to Krishna. And all the kings and the brahmanas that were at that sacrifice, this was a sacrifice of Maharaj Yudhishthir. And they all became disturbed when they heard Shishupal calling Krishna all these different names. And they immediately went to satisfy Krishna by offering nice prayers. But all these kings and brahmanas, they could not discover any disturbance in Krishna. Krishna was not affected by Shishupal's, offensive mentality. And, Krishna is self-satisfied. He doesn't have to be honored. He doesn't have to be, revered. Krishna himself is satisfied within himself, yet he engages in this kind of play with the gopis. And then the last point here that is mentioned before Ekavira Prabhu shares something is that Krishna takes pleasure in playing like the king of elephants. And so in the Sanskrit, I believe there's a mention of Gajendra. And when we hear that pastime of Gajendra, we hear about how Gajendra, the elephant, with his she-elephants, there is an example of how Krishna here, he strolls, into the Yamuna, and with the gopis looking like a she-elephant, strong and, followed by these bees. And it's just something that we can imagine. And Gajendra, this elephant, this activity of Gajendra and his she-elephants was, and the she-elephants with him, they were also enjoying in this forest. And most of us, I'm sure, know this pastime. And what's beautiful about this pastime is that this elephant, this very strong, big elephant, he broke through so many of the thorns and the creepers and all kinds of trees and plants, and just so that he and his she elephants could enjoy. And so here we hear about the gopis, how Krishna, he made all these different, situations, all these different arrangements, just so that he could play with them. And and again, we can think of him as being this very, strong personality. And his body is being described that his thighs are like elephants, Krishna's thighs. Krishna is so strong. So this pastime, we go into what what Prabhupada says in the last verse, right?
So sweet, the description that you actually made of Krishna engaging in this particular pastime in the previous verses.
Yeah, that's what Prabhupada and all these translations, these translations are so amazing.
And this particular translation is speaking about how the great souls, first of all, Krishna sets the stage by having this particular pastime during the month of Kartik, and of course it's explained that this took place during the full moon night of the autumn season, Sarat Purnima. And so if you had the chance to travel through the rural areas and look into the forest and see the different trees and the colors that are illustrated, it's like a tapestry painting, a portrait. It's so beautiful, actually. And so during this time, Krishna sets this stage. It's such a beautiful time. And yes, thank you. My wife is pointing to the time.
This is reminding us, sorry.
And so
we actually have a little bit of extra time today, because since there's another class going on in the temple room, we're actually not getting darshan today. So,
Okay.
not that we're going to go over a lot, but just so you don't stress.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Damodar Priya. And so, yes, Krishna setting the stage and during this beautiful season. And of course, in the first verses, the text 20 and 21, Krishna is so sweetly described. Krishna is seeing the fatigue on the gopis, and then he wipes their face with his hand. And when I heard that particular pastime, it was like, this is the original handkerchief. And Krishna's hand is the original, the hand of the chief, handkerchief. And so, yes, just by touching their face, then he inspires them to chant his glories. And it's expressed in this verse. These great souls, Krishna's loving affairs, inspires poetic descriptions of these great souls. And so in this verse, there's Parashara Muni, the author of the first Purana, Vyasadev's father, and some of the descriptions that were made in the previous verse you made about Krishna having that majestic aspect, like the king of elephants that's described in the Vishnu Purana, his Aishvarya characteristics, his majestic aspect. Vedavyas, we're actually hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vedavyas is giving all of the descriptions of Rasa Lila, and Jayadev Goswami, Diva Mangala Thakur, and his was it Krishna Karnamrita, and Rupa Goswami, and all the different literatures that he wrote, the Terkadamba, and Vidokta Madhava, and Gopal Champu, and all the beautiful and sweet descriptions of the intimate pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, particularly the gopis. And so Srila Prabhupada explains that as empowered and as capable qualified as these devotees are in trying to describe the sweetness of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, they still come up short because Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. And so that made me think about, and even Anantashesh, it's explained that he has thousands of heads, and the thousands of heads have been chanting the glories of the Lord from time immemorial. And even he cannot chant all of the glories of the Lord because the glories are unlimited. And so it made me think about a practical experience. One time we were in Vrindavan, and we had the opportunity to, had been desiring to go to the parikram with Indradumna Maharaj and Badahari Prabhu. And during this last day of Kartik one year, we were able to be present. And after the discussion, kirtan was about to begin, Indradumna Maharaj was expressing his appreciation for Badahari Prabhu. And he was saying that we've traveled to all of the different holy places, and Badahari Prabhu has given kirtan every day, and sometimes twice a day. And during each of these days, he's never chanted the same melody twice. And Badahari Prabhu is like a transcendental jukebox. Krishna actually touches him. And then he just plays and chants the glories of the Lord. And so, yes, these great devotees, they are actually empowered by the Supreme Lord. They are Krishna's instrument. And so even in this particular pastime, we see that before the gopis engage in this Rasa Lila, Krishna is along the banks of the river Yamuna, and as he's walking along the banks, he plays upon his flute, Vamsi. And as he plays upon his flute, Vamsi, he is attracting the gopis. The sound of Krishna's flute. And there's a message that comes through with the raga that is displayed and by Krishna's sweet playing on the flute. And Jayadev Goswami, actually Vishwanath Chakrabarti, of course, this particular place is called Vamsi Bhatta, under the banyan tree, Bhatta, the tree, where Vamsi, Krishna plays upon Vamsi. And Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur is also spoken about in this particular purport. He describes how during this time where Krishna is playing upon Vamsi, a gentle breeze arose alongside of the sound of Krishna's flute. And from this gentle breeze of the flute, and that particular place is called Dear Samir, the place, and also Jayadev Goswami speaks about that. And Jayadev Goswami expresses that in this particular place, Dear Samir, devotees should come and chant the holy names of Krishna, chant the holy names, Mahamantra, and remember the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And so the Vaishnavacharyas are just as Vamsi, Krishna's instrument. And we see that it's explained that in Lila, one of the different manifestations of Balaram is that he expands into the paraphernalia of Krishna, his shoes, his bed, his, the holy Dham, Vraja itself, and Vamsi, all of Krishna, not only Vamsi, but all of Krishna's flutes, Krishna's instrument. And also Balaram is understood to be Adi Guru. And all of the Vaishnavacharyas are representatives of Adi Guru. And so they are manifestations also like Vamsi. the sweetness of Krishna's flute, in which he's attracting the devotees, gopis, through Vamsi. We are being attracted through the sweet words of the Vaishnavacharyas, through their poetic expressions and writings, calling us, bringing us to Krishna's lotus feet. And so one of the picture pastimes of Jayadev Goswami, just speak about him briefly, when he was writing Gita Govinda, this was illustrated as being the instrument of Krishna. And as he's writing the Gita Govinda, he was inspired to write that Krishna bows down to touch the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. But then he was so torn. He was torn because he did not want to diminish Krishna's position as the Supreme Personality of God. And so he thought, he paused, he meditated, and then he prayed. And he got up from writing the Gita Govinda and he went to the bank of Ganga, took his bath. And as he was taking his bath, Padmavati, his wife, had offered Bhoga to Radha Madhav and had prasadam there. And then she came into the room where Jayadev Goswami, who was writing the Gita Govinda and had gone to take his bath, she sees who she thought was Jayadev Goswami, and she offers him the prasadam. And of course, who she thought was Jayadev Goswami honors the prasadam. So eventually, Jayadev Goswami himself comes back from the bank of Ganga and asks for prasadam. And Padmavati, she was puzzled, like, I just gave you prasadam. And then Jayadev Goswami looks into the Gita Govinda and he sees that not only the point that he sees something written in the Gita Govinda. And this point that he was inspired to write was that Krishna bows down and touches the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. But then when he sees in the Gita Govinda, there's something written. And what is it? It's Dehi Pada Palavam Udaram. And what is that English translation? It says that Sri Krishna cried, hey, Radhe, come on, please, please do me a favor and put your reddish feet on my head, just like a flower decoration. So not only did Krishna want Jayadev Goswami to write something of this, in this mood of his appreciation for Srimati Radharani, but he wanted to write it in an even more intimate manner. And then Jayadev Goswami, he just danced in ecstasy and said, the Lord is so merciful. He's actually written this in the Gita Govinda, and he's taken Mahaprasadam from your own hands, Padmavati. And so this is also an indication of how Krishna utilizes his devotees as his instrument in writing these different works. And Srila Prabhupada, and our own Srila Prabhupada, we hear Srila Prabhupada express that I'm not writing these books. Krishna himself is actually writing these books. And of course, Rupa Goswami at Terkadamba, he's also illustrating this. And I won't go so much into that, but as in Terkadamba, the place in which Krishna is calling all the cows. And how does he call all the cows? He's playing his flute. And thousands of cows come running. And similarly, in this holy place of Terkadamba, Srila Rupa Goswami is being used as the instrument to call all of us. And what is our particular position? What is it that we choose? What are the choices that we make? Do we actually accept or run after the mercy that has been given by these Vaishnava acharyas? There's no question of qualification or actually having the actual taste. There's no question of that. In my particular case, there's no question of qualification. At the same time, the Vaishnava acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, they have made our good fortune Srila Prabhupada expresses that I have made your good fortune. And so what is the importance of hearing these pastimes? We may not have the realizations that, these great souls have, although we have great souls on this call and who come to the Bhakti Center who may have realizations in regards to these pastimes. At the same time, we hear, and from this particular hearing of the pastimes and the glories of the Lord, it's like Vamsi, we're being called to actually relish the pastime and develop, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishta Vartate, a higher taste. By hearing the pastimes, you give up the lower desires. And so, as we said, it's not, not any question of qualification, but by constantly hearing and chanting the holy names of the Lord, we're given the taste to actually hear the message of Vasudeva. Not as a gopi, but as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expresses, Gopi Bharti Padakam Lila dasi Amidas, as a servant of the servant of the servant of those great devotees who are following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, all of you, and serving the devotees in some way, helping ourselves first to remember, and then also helping others to remember the glories of the Lord Krishna. So as it was said, and Jeff wrote it in the chat, we aspire to actually remember. And Prabhupada expresses that the easiest way to remember is to chant the holy names.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari, thank you so very much. And Prabhupada is so kind. He gives us his representatives that we get a chance to hear from them. And so we're never left alone. We're always able to get the mercy and just taking shelter of these devotees that are hearing these pastimes and passing them on is the greatest benediction that we could ever receive. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vraja Lila and Ekavira Prabhus. Like we said, the association is so important, and we always relish getting both of your associations. So as I said to everyone, there's a class going on at the temple room, so we're not going to get darshan. So this is our opportunity to get devotee darshan. So please, everyone, if you have a question or a reflection or appreciation for Vraja Lila and Ekavira Prabhus, this is your time to do it. We could do maybe like another 5 or 10 minutes. Would that be okay, Prabhus, or do you have something that you have to go to?
No, we're fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if anybody has anything that they'd like to share, this is your time to do so. I know while people are getting their kind of courage up, that I some of the notes that I really loved is how you kind of didn't say it, but you alluded to the fact that Krishna is the supreme hero, and that we have all these like Marvel movies and all these big things, but really, if we really need to focus on a hero, it's Krishna. Oh, and Bhima Prabhu has his hand on. Yes, please, Bhima Prabhu.
Yeah, that was Haribo Prabhu, Vraja Lila Ekavira, Vraja Lila Ekavira. I always love to turn on Zoom, and then your faces are there, and I'm like, it's so warmly endearing. And we don't get to hear enough from you. It's rare, but I'll tell you something that's even more rare, and you never see it in the material world, and that is the jewel, the precious moments when a wife allows the husband the last word, and only between only devotees in a wonderful marriage where the wife says, now it's your turn to speak, and he actually gets the last word in, and you never see that. At least I'm not privy to it in my experience. So I would just like to say that not only am I very much enlivened by, and of course Ekavira, when you mentioned all those wonderful poetic works, I've tried several times to look into the Gita Govinda. It's not that it's hard to read, but somehow I'm always blocked. Like I'll get like one or two verses into it, and then something will come up, and I'll have to be pulled away. And I know, as a person who studied poetry in college, and then I look at the Sanskrit, I look at the masterwork of poetics, of meter, of rhyme. That if all of us here who are on this Zoom call find ourselves disturbed by the beauty of the so-called material world, or the pull of the attraction of the material world, that if we try our best to immerse ourselves in poetics of the 10th canto, whether it be Krishna's pastimes with the demons, which will help us to learn about our own demons and how Krishna handles our own demons, but also how Krishna handles our loving sentiments, and how Krishna, by using his hands, as you said, hands of the chief, to wipe away, to wipe away our the sweat of our endeavor to come close and to serve. So once again, thank you very much for the lecture, and thank you for this unique opportunity of a man having the last word. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, David Prabhu, for your encouraging and inspiring words. You reminded me of a story that Peter Burwash expressed, and he said the same thing that you said. A wife has the last word, always has the last word. You should always remember that. Even in an argument, the wife has the last word. Any words after her last word is the beginning of another argument. And so, no.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Now I know how it works, and now I know why it never ends. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe we can share quickly why Ekavira Prabhu has the
My
last
wife
word.
is actually, she's a special soul. So.
Ekavira is a special soul. Ekavira is shy, and he doesn't usually want to speak. And I got to start it and be here with him because he's very shy. And that's rare for a male.
Thank you so much. I have to tell you something really sweet. After the last class that you both gave, my husband, who at that time was, I think the last class you gave, I wasn't initiated yet. And so we were in the fervor of like, it's coming up. And he was so excited about it. And he said to me, he was like, maybe one day you and I can be like Ekavira and Vraja Lila Prabhu's, and we can give class together. And I turned to him and I was like, wow, he had never, ever, ever expressed such an interest. And I just wanted to share that. I know he's going to be embarrassed that I shared it, but I just thought it was so sweet because that's part of your service, the two of you do. Like in doing this service and showing grihastas serving together to glorify the Lord, lovingly supporting each other, taking turns. You inspire those of us who are like on that path to kind of aspire. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so, so very much. I hope to be able to have darshan of you both in person someday, but in the meantime, we love that we get to see you online. So does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share? Any comments or questions? If not, we'll let them go because they did give us an extra 10 minutes. So thank you so much. And I also just want to apologize to everyone that I'm subbing for Ananda Bihai Prabhu, and I'm still trying to get all the kind of gist of running everything. And I realized I was told that when I was sharing the screen, that I actually wasn't sharing the verses, that I was just sharing a YouTube screen. So I just want to formally apologize to everybody in the class and to everybody on YouTube that was watching for that. And I, appreciate your patience as I try to do my best and figure out this amazing job that Ananda Bihari Prabhu does every single day. He makes it look so easy, and he does such a beautiful job. So we'd just like to apologize and appreciate Ananda Bihari Prabhu.
Well,
Okay.
thank you, Damodar Priya.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on your initiation.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to hearing from you and your husband. We're definitely going to be at that class for sure. And, you know, it's just beautiful that you are serving Anand Bihari Prabhu. It's really beautiful that you're taking that responsibility to serve another devotee.
Yes, it's so
Wonderful.
so special. And Ananda Bihari, he takes a vacation.
Yeah.
I think the first time in a very, very long time that he's getting to do it, because we were able to arrange to figure out how I could kind of take over for him during this time. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm so glad. I know that he sacrifices a lot. It's a lot of austerity to do this every single day. So yeah, I'm glad that he's able to get to spend time with his family, recharge. He says he's going to catch up on reading his devotional books and things of that sort. So
Hey.
Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
okay, well, thank you again, everyone. And remember, Srimad Bhagavatam class is here every day for us to glorify the Lord. So we hope to see you, everyone, again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.